I am Janelle Lucan, equine sports therapist and Foundation of Integrated Therapy instructor certified through the BC College of Equine Therapy. The Saddle Fit Foundation module teaches why saddle fit is important, how to tell if your saddle is fitting correctly, and how to correctly fit a saddle if it is not fitting correctly. We teach you about both Western and English saddle fitting. There are a lot of differences as well as a lot of similarities between the two saddles. So whereas your Western has your saddle fork, English has a pommel. Same function, different names. They both have the seat, which leads into the cantle. Typically your Western has a Cheyenne roll, but that's not always a necessity on your Western saddle. They both have a saddle skirt. It's just the size, the shape, a little bit of the placement is different. We've got a cinch in the Western saddle, whereas in the English saddle we call it a girth. Sometimes your Western saddle comes with a rear cinch. We never do that on the English saddle. It's just because we're in different disciplines. Both of the saddles have different purposes for why they're being used. But the basics of your saddle, the tree underneath your saddle, they've got the same shape in the tree, and that is where we need to be focusing on for addressing saddle fit. You want the saddle to fit symmetrically and evenly with constant contact all the way from just behind the shoulder towards the last rib, towards the back of your saddle, but not past your rib on your horse. We will be getting into how the different contours of the saddles fit the different shapes and contours of the horse's back as well. Now that we're getting familiar with the saddles and the parts of the saddles and the shapes of the saddles, we want to go into how saddles can affect the horses. And a lot of people say, well, if only a horse could talk. Well, they actually do talk. It's not audible English, but they've got a language of their own. And the easiest way to pay attention to what they're saying to you is to watch their behavior. If they're putting their ears back when you're going to saddle them, if they're going to nip at you or bite you, if they're stomping their feet, if they're moving away as soon as you bring out the saddle, if they're putting their head high and hollowing their back, those are all signs that they're uncomfortable with the saddle fit. For instance, if your horse has a sore back and they're not able to collect and come into frame, see how much his back raises just by lowering his head? If he's got his head high, his back is going to hollow out. So if he's trying to get away from a saddle that's not fitting properly and is causing pressure points, oftentimes found right here or back in here, he's going to be lowering his back, which is raising his head, and he's not in correct frame, so he can't be running fast under you. He's trying to get away from you, not trying to take you away from the starting point with him. Another place to check, when you're wanting to check to see if they can support the saddle on their back, you want to check their underline, and you can also check that and see how much he's raising and lowering his back just by playing with that. Another place to obviously see if their saddle is not fitting them properly, they often have dry spots right along in here where there's no contact in the saddle. It's not touching them at all, so there's no way for their body to sweat up right here, which means they're carrying the weight right here and right here. And often when they're carrying the weight right up in the shoulders, right on their withers, you can get those white marks. And those are actually caused by lack of circulation because their saddle is pushing so hard on their muscles that the blood can't circulate through that muscle, and the hair follicles are actually dying and turning white. That is how you get your white spots. If they have problems in their middle gluteal back here, this is one of their big meaty muscles. They're not going to be able to collect, they're not going to be able to drive from behind, they're going to have a weak takeoff. You're just not going to have your horse that's engaging fully and running to its maximum. Horses also come in all sorts of shapes and sizes too. They're just like you and I, where we're not one size fits all, we're not made out of a mold. Some of them have high withers, some of them have mutton withers, some are very wide, some are very narrow, some have a very long back where others have a short back. They're all going to be a little bit different. Breed's going to dictate that a little bit, but even within breeds, they're all different backs. And their backs are going to change throughout their life as well. So because every horse's back is different, we can't expect every saddle to fit every horse, And because the horse's back changes so much throughout its life, we can't expect one saddle to fit a horse throughout its entire life. To learn more about saddle fit, check out our website for upcoming classes in your area.